Hey everyone, and welcome back to Rank and File Sports with Jonah and Connor. Today we're going to be continuing our scheduled previews with the BYU Cougars. We will be previewing every Power 4 team as well as a few Group of 5 teams, so please make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on your favorite team's video as well as our official team by team predictions over the summer. So looking at the schedule, BYU has 6 games at home and 6 games on the road. So an even split there. And none of these games, aside from two, are going to be really difficult. You got a road trip to Iowa State, and then following a bye week, they have a road trip to Texas Tech. Probably the best two teams they're going to play this year. But other than that, I mean, nothing really sticks out to me here. So a schedule difficulty of only 3.5 out of 10 for BYU.
Yeah, and that schedule difficulty rank is very evident with their first two games of the season. Portland State, it's no contest. The Cougars are the better team. Portland State's going to stand no chance, 100% chance for BYU to walk away with a win. Stanford, very rough spot, losing their top wide receiver to the NFL draft. BYU returning Jake Retzlaff at quarterback. Cougars get a 95% chance to go into their first bye week starting off 2-0.
And out of that bye week, kind of a weird game, in my opinion, for BYU to go on the road to East Carolina. Most of the time, we don't see Power Four teams travel to a Group of Five team. But that being said, BYU is way more talented. They should come away with a win here, about 95% chance of that happening. And then they start off Big 12 play with a road trip to Colorado. Obviously, the Buffaloes are going to be losing both Shadur Sanders and Travis Hunter. We'll have to see if they are able to be almost as good as they were this year without those two guys. I don't think it's very likely. BYU is the better team here, and they should come away with a win, even though it's on the road. About a 60% chance right there. West Virginia at home, we're giving BYU about an 80% chance to win. The Mountaineers didn't have the best season last year, and there's not really much reason to think that they have the talent to beat this BYU team, especially with BYU being the home team. Now, traveling to Arizona, Noah Fafita comes back for another season, but the Wildcats are losing Tataro McMillan to the NFL draft, and he's going to be a tough guy to replace, especially as Fafita's number one target. So we'll have to see if somebody else can step up to take that. But that being said, Arizona wasn't as good as BYU last year. There's no reason to think that they will be this season. Even though they have the home field advantage, that'll help them a little bit percentage wise. But BYU is still the favorite here, about a 75% chance. Next up, you have the game against Utah, big rivalry here. And that's really the only thing that's keeping this as close as it is. We have it at about 70% for BYU to win. And, Utah, they have been struggling the last couple of years. And I just don't know if it's going to get much better. Um, yeah, this one's a tough game for sure because it's such a big rivalry game. But I do think BYU should win this one, especially because they're at home. And then finally, we have a road trip to Iowa State. This one's another tough game to pick here. Rocco Becht coming back at quarterback. Iowa State should be a really solid team again. And with the home field advantage, I do think that they should be favored here over BYU. Both teams pretty comparable overall. So BYU only has about a 40% chance to win that game heading into their second bye week.
And coming out of that bye week, they will be going on the road again to Texas Tech. Texas Tech had a very successful season last year. We're very competitive in the Big 12, led by Taj Brooks at running back. We think that Texas Tech is going to be a similarly competitive team this year. So given that this game is on the road for the Cougars, we are going to put this at about 55% chance. The Cougars still should be favored in this game, but just because it is the home field advantage for the Red Raiders, it could turn into a trap game. Following that, going back home to face TCU. Now, we like TCU this year. Their quarterback is returning, had a very successful season last year. They are losing a lot of their wide receiver room to the NFL draft, but they still should be a very competitive team in the Big 12. But once again, BYU with Jake Retzlaff returning at quarterback will be the better team. And with it being at home, we will have that at about a 70% chance for the Cougars to get a win. Then going on the road to Cincinnati. Cincinnati has struggled the past couple seasons after their college football playoff appearance, however many years ago that it was. Given BYU about a 75% chance here, they will be the better team on paper once again. And then finishing the season off at home against UCF. UCF is going to have a probably a worse season than they did last year. I think they finished 4-8, 2-7 in the Big 12, and they're losing their biggest playmaker in RJ Harvey, who is going to the NFL draft. RJ Harvey, for reference, had more rushing yards than any of UCF's starting quarterbacks. So UCF will not pose much of a threat to this BYU team, giving them about a 90% chance to get a win at home to finish off their season.
Yeah, just to clarify your point there, because you told me this earlier, it was any of their quarterbacks' passing yards, not more rushing yards than the quarterbacks had. He had more rushing yards than the quarterbacks had passing yards,
Yes.
which is ridiculous. But just looking at the schedule overall, you got Texas Tech on the road, Iowa State on the road, maybe, TCU at home or Colorado on the road, other games to look out for. But in my opinion, this is going to be probably a 10-2 season for BYU. Maybe even could get to 11-1. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Iowa State is definitely their toughest game of the season. I think that will most likely be a loss. Then you have the Texas Tech game on the road, the TCU game at home, like you said, going to Colorado. Even that home game against Utah, we saw last year BYU was undefeated going on the road to play Utah, and that game came down to the wire in a very controversial call that saved BYU's undefeated season for another week. So between those four games, I could see them dropping one, maybe even two, if something doesn't click for them. But I do think that a 10-2 season is probably a good prediction for right now.
Yeah, and that is what we're going to go with here. We like BYU to finish the year 10-2. When you add up all of the percentages, they did go, or they should be projected for a season total of 9.05 wins. So pretty much 9-3. And really, that's just giving credit to, all those little point ones, point twos adding up for some of those home games against some of the worst teams in the Big 12. But we really do think that BYU is going to have a solid season. They should be able to get to double digit wins here in the regular season. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video.